Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-op Podcast, episode 176. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
Hey, what's up, people? I'm doing good, thanks. How's things with you, Rich?
Everything is great. Uh, it's been a very busy time, so looking forward to talk about a few games before I go back and do some reviews. um,
It's
we're
good.
also joined by Mr. Jake James Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm doing good, Rich. I'm happy to see you guys again. Happy to chat it up a little bit. Hope you guys have been doing all right.
Absolutely. And we are joined by Mr. Max Muller. How's it going, Max?
Also pretty good, and also happy to be back again and see you guys.
Absolutely. Should be a fun show today. So we do have quite a bit of topics to discuss this week. But before we get into all that, definitely want to know what you guys have been playing. So how about you go first, Max, and let us know what you've been playing.
Well, aside from Pokemon Go, yes, I'm still on that. I have only been playing Recore this week, and at first I was very, very excited about it. I was having a great time, and I'm about 7 or so hours in, and I'm starting to see where all the reviews are going with this, all the average reviews, like JJ's review, for example. And it's starting to bum me out a little bit, not gonna lie. It's just a lot of unfinished ideas. There's these ideas where you're like, I know they had something cool in their heads, but they just didn't have time or the money or the skill or whatever. It's a shame. It's really a shame, but I'm going to see it through. I'm going to play it to the end and then see what my final thoughts are on it.
It's a real shame because I was watching JJ play it actually on the stream, and it looked really fun. Like when I was watching him play it, but for the people who have played it a lot, I'm hearing that once you get to a certain level, there's not much depth to it anymore, and it's like it just kind of falls short. But the game itself looks really good. It looks kind of fun, but it's just I don't know. But I guess that's why they sold it for so cheap, because they knew that it wasn't they didn't put a lot of effort into it eventually, I guess.
Yeah, that's like the best way to describe it. And again, at the beginning, I was having a hell of a time. I was like, this is fun as hell. It's very cool. It reminded me of the old PS2 games like Jack and Daxter and stuff.
I must ask, did it also remind you of the old PlayStation 2 games because of how it looked? Because I know you said there was some stuff that was unfinished, so I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, specifically the facial models. Wow, they're terrible. They're awful, the facial models. Could use a lot of anti-aliasing in that game too. The graphics are okay. There's some parts where you're like, wow, this could look much better, and there's some where you're like, this looks awful, but there's nothing in there where I'm like stunned at all, which is a shame because it's a cool world and they could have done so much with it. But oh well.
I definitely plan to try it out at some time. I didn't get a chance to try it out because I got busy with something else, which I'll discuss in a little bit. But that's pretty much all that you've been playing for this week?
Oh yeah, that's actually I think the only thing. I still need to get back into Final Fantasy VI, and I'll have some time for that this week. Last week was pretty busy, but this week's all good for games.
Sounds awesome. So how about you, Mr. Lugo? What have you been playing?
Well, like the guys just said, yeah, I did the review for Recore on the site. It's on there now. And I think very soon, if it hasn't gone up already, it'll go up very soon. Me and you did a Patreon exclusive discussion about Recore, which was like the night before the review embargo finished. It was like right up when all the reviews were about to go up. But yeah, I played Recore, reviewed it, gave it about a 66 out of 100. Okay, at least in the 60s range out of 100. Definitely look it up on the site and see like my full details. It was like 1,000 or so, a little bit more than 1,000 words in my review about why I felt the way that I did about the game. And it is very disappointing, like both Gary and Max said, because it starts off intriguing. Like a lot of people says it starts off good. I don't think it necessarily starts off good. It starts off very intriguing where you kind of like the idea of like its setup of the story. It puts you in medias res is how I put it in my review. And I thought that was cool. But at some point, it just takes a nosedive. And the main reason is because there's a lot of technical bugs and glitches. That's the exact same thing I said in our conversation and such. Like, again, it just at some point, it just gets absolutely crazy insane with the technical shortcomings of that game. But funny thing, right? Funny story. And this is kind of cool because this is like, I guess you could say like the aftermath of everything involving Recore. I guess you could say, I forgot the phrasing of it. It's kind of like not a eulogy, but kind of damn, I can't remember the phrasing for it, but it's after like something dies or after something passes and stuff. I'm pretty sure some of you guys that are listening to this now probably know the term, so I apologize. But in the wake of everything that had happened with the reviews, after my review went up and I saw a bunch of others talking about it, I went back and played it again because I wanted to try to finish up the last little bit so I get all the last minute achievements and everything like that. And funny enough, I stopped because of one major thing. I ran into a game-breaking bug, which nobody talked about because I guess either it was unique to my game or maybe people found ways around it. But I went into a really bad game-breaking bug where I went into one of the dungeons where you're trying to kind of do a lot of this platforming, a lot of the just different traditional platform you have to do, hit these switches and move from platform to platform to reach the end and get one of those prismatic cores, which is like, you could say they're like the collectibles that are the main thing in the game to move from level to level. And I had reached a point where I hit a checkpoint and I fell off and I died, and it's supposed to respawn me back on a platform where the checkpoint triggered. But what it did was instead, it started constantly respawning me right over a pit where I constantly fell down and I had no control over what was going on. So I tried a couple times to try to see maybe I could trigger a different checkpoint, like, try to glide back or double jump back so that way I could get on a platform every time I died and I would actually respawn there. Never happened. And it absolutely was insane. And it really sucked because I was sitting there for maybe about 45 minutes trying to get this to work. And I was like, at some point, I gave up, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, I don't want to come back to this anymore. And it really sucks, because I would have wanted to see it fully through. And I would have really wanted to see like the last minute, like end game stuff that really everybody should experience, whenever they play a game. But just too many difficult, like technical bugs and shortcomings in that game. But that was the main game I played. And the other one I put up a review for it not too long ago, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which is kind of like another version of Shin Megami Tensei 4 on Nintendo 3DS. But that review is also up on the Koalition.com. Much better game than Recore as far as like enjoyment, as far as quality, as far as the way that it's built and designed. Again, it's a different style of game, but you'll thank yourself if you pick up that game on your Nintendo 3DS. But that's what I've been up to. I have new reviews coming this week, starting tomorrow. From the time that we're recording this, I have the Dead Rising triple pack review going up, as well as some other stuff later down the line. But that's what I've been up to.
Sounds awesome. And yeah, definitely looking forward to that review, as well as, we do have a couple other things coming this week as well. How about you, Gary? What have you been playing?
Yeah, as usual, been playing lots of Overwatch. The thing is with that game, like, because it's back in the competitive season 2 and stuff, I'm always finding myself like falling in love with different characters in that game, because you have to use different characters in different situations, in the matches, like depending if you're attacking or defending. And then once the enemy gets one of your points, you might need to switch it up to another character. But I've kind of got my formula down now to the characters that I'm going to use in competitive in certain situations. And now I've been using Pharah a lot, where I didn't really used to use her a lot. And, I kind of really like that character now. And Torborn is another one. I didn't use him a lot initially, but now I'm using him a lot, and I like using him. And Reaper, like, I never used to like using Reaper, but, now I'm just like, I can gun down the whole team with Reaper. So, yeah, man, I'm always falling in love with new things about the game, and it's just always fun. So I'm still enjoying that. Besides that, I didn't play much else on my own, but shouts to former Koalition member Carl Banks, because he changed his name. But he actually had a birthday party yesterday because it was his birthday. So happy birthday to Carl and everything. And at the party, there was a gaming session, basically. So I was playing a lot of games with his family. We played Mortal Kombat. We played Dive Kick. We played what else? Rocket League. And I watched Rams and Carl play WWE 2K16, which is one of Richard's favorite games. And yeah, I got to see how terrible that game is.
Oh, hell no. That's definitely not my favorite game.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, because I hadn't really hadn't had like a gaming session with other people like that in a very long time, besides E3. but like just being over somebody else's house and just playing a bunch of games together and stuff, like that's an experience we don't get that often these days with online games and everything. So that was really fun for sure. But yeah, besides that, that's about it for gaming for me this week.
Yeah, I just was going to say real quick, yeah, that's definitely an awesome experience, and I agree with what you said, because I know a lot of online gaming now, you feel a little isolated, whether it's online or not. So it is great to have those experiences once in a while, and also give a shout out to Mr. Carl E. Banks and wish him a happy belated birthday, even though I've already sent him a message saying happy birthday. But yeah, now he got the shout out on Koalition as well, on co-op. So it's all good. So as for what I've been playing, okay, I've been playing NBA 2K17. Let me go ahead and repeat what I already said on Twitter. EA should not bring back NBA Live. It's just they just need to just consider that concept dead in the water, because this game is absolutely fantastic. I know how a lot of times you play a sports game every single year, it's the same experience. They changed a lot in this game. So much. The My Player mode is a lot better. They don't have the bad Spike Lee storytelling that they had last year in NBA 2K16. But My Player is better. You could share text messages between your boss, teammates, and it'll be just like you're having a regular conversation on a phone right now, on an iPhone, Android, whatever. Made improvements to GM mode. You can relocate your team to another city or whatever, another state. They've changed so much with the game, and the presentation is always solid. You have Shaq in the game on commentary, Kenny the Jet Smith, Ernie Johnson, that whole team with TNT, aside from Charles Barkley, because I guess he's too expensive to even get him to be in the game. But just a great game overall, fantastic sports game. And then, of course, one thing that it does do, which a lot of sports games don't have, they have that NBA 2K weekly television show hosted by a very attractive female, basically talking about this week in the NBA 2K Sports League, and then she has interviews with players and stuff like that. So I really think that anybody that tries to make a basketball game, even if they do try, you need to look at 2K as setting the template for that, because the game is absolutely fantastic. I can't really think of any flaws I have with it. They've changed a lot of more animation, stuff like that. So anybody who is thinking about playing a sports game, a good sports basketball game, you definitely should pick up this game immediately. I did pick it up on Friday because I actually pre-ordered it, but it should be available to everybody starting on Tuesday, which is September 20th. So I would definitely recommend that. I've also spent another time playing Forza Horizon 3. I have a review coming for this on Tuesday. And the thing about it is this: when I played Forza Horizon 2 and I reviewed it for the site 2 years ago, I said that game possibly was the best racing game this whole generation. I said that before I had a chance to play a few other games. I did eventually play Drive Club, Project Cars, all these other games. I still like Forza Horizon 2 better. Well, Forza Horizon 3, I believe that has upped the ante pretty much every way imaginable, because a lot of the things they're doing with that game, a lot of it is still some of the same stuff they did with 2, but they expanded it. There's more cars, obviously. And this time, you're actually the Forza Horizon boss instead of being just somebody who participates in the events. So there's a lot more customization options that they didn't have before. You're able to actually set up a race at different places. You're able to actually hire drivatars to be on your team and drive in races. And you can also fire them as well if you want. It's more of a business mindset of trying to get people, I guess you could say, kind of like an RPG elements as well, but trying to get people an idea of how to build a successful festival, and then basically utilize that to get more fans, to raise money, so on and so forth. So I have to really give a shout out to Playground Games. They made a fantastic game, and I have a lot more to say about it in my review, which will be posted up on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. So definitely check out that because if you're a racing game fan, I mean, this is, and quite honestly, this is a game that you should pick up if you're a racing game fan. But if you're an Xbox One owner or a PC owner as well, definitely a game that's worth picking up because there isn't really too many other racing games. We know Gran Turismo got delayed, but this game truly does set the bar in more ways than one. And I'll be very interested to see what we get from here on out in terms of Drive Club VR and Gran Turismo, because I feel like they really have to step it up to get to this level. But that's all I'm going to say for now. Maybe I've already said too much, but the game is fantastic. But definitely worth checking out. So that pretty much concludes what we have been playing this week. We'll definitely have a lot more to talk about next week because I know that Batman is coming out on Tuesday. You know, I'm waiting for that. I've been waiting for that since episode 1. So definitely stay tuned for our thoughts on that and everything else soon.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, man. Especially because it was Batman Day yesterday. So.
Oh yeah, did you see that? Like everybody was posting pics up. I posted a pic of the '89 Batmobile to celebrate it.
Oh yeah, I need to check that out. But yeah, can't wait for it. It's gonna be fun. So let's go ahead. Let's jump right into the topics. I'm going to rearrange this list a little bit, but we're going to address this since this happened earlier in the week. We received news that The Last Guardian has been delayed once again. This is a game that was originally supposed to come out at the end of October. Now I believe the new release date is December 6th. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on this. I know there were a couple of previews that went out there that did not speak too positively of the game. So how about you tell us what's your thoughts on the delay first, Mr. Lugo?
I mean, it kind of sucks. It's a lot of people have said it's an embarrassment, and it kind of is because this is a game that's been quote unquote in development for over 10 years. It's been a while. In that time frame, it's funny. Everybody keeps posting on Twitter and other social media. In the time that this game has been developed since the PlayStation 3 days, where it was originally supposed to be released on that platform, we've had the entire Uncharted saga 1 through 4. We've had all these other games. We had the BioShock series. We had all Mass Effect. It's ridiculous. So some people have said, like, you know, Sony Studio Japan should be kind of embarrassed about this. And if I was Sony, you know, I'd be a little bit pissed off that things have kind of dragged their feet for a very long time. There's probably a lot of legal stuff and logistical stuff behind the scenes that we don't know that could have been the reason why this has happened. And I'm hoping maybe in the next year or so after the game finally comes out, like way later on, that we are actually told and we find out what exactly happened, because you don't just delay a game like that. Or at least, you know, you don't have this kind of gap in time for a game that started development way long ago in last generation or so. And, you know, again, it hasn't come out and you get delayed again. It could be a number of different reasons. It could be because they're kind of prepping up for whatever the reaction to this game is going to be, which I think is going to be negative. It's going to be just as bad, if not worse, than what No Man's Sky got, because it's not going to reach the level of hype that people have for it, at least at this point, the anticipation and the expectation for it to be good. I don't think it's going to be like this, you know, genre-defining or generation-defining title when it finally comes out. I think a lot of people are kind of in agreement with that. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I feel about it. But I still think it's going to come out. I think that when it releases, it'll be one of those things like, okay, finally it's out. Let's move on at this point. So maybe another couple months, I think is the delay. What's the exact date that it's delayed till?
Yeah,
December 6th.
December 6th. Okay, so it's like what? Another month and a half or a month and change. So, I mean, it's not that bad, but just how the saga of this game has been, you know, a real roller coaster for some people. So I'm more interested, like other people, interested in the story behind the development about it rather than the game itself.
Yeah, I do agree with that. It definitely is unfortunate that it got delayed. I could on one end, I know there's a lot of games coming out, because I did see that there was some comments when the news went out, people saying, well, there's a lot of stuff coming out in October, so maybe that's a good thing. But I mean, yeah, that's a valid argument also. But I think the people who've been waiting for this game, I think they should have the expectations in check. They should not expect an amazing game at all, because it has been in development for so long. You know, it was a little rough when we saw it at E3. The footage was a little rough in certain areas. So they should not expect a fantastic, amazing experience, but they should still be somewhat satisfied because they've been wanting this game for the longest time. But how about you, Max? What are your thoughts on this delay?
Oh,
He's probably muted. Yeah,
Might be
you gotta
muted.
double check your mic. Yeah, just gotta check your mic, Max. Or it might have gotten disconnected. So double check that. You might have to change it.
Yeah, you can change that. Well, while he adjusts that, Gary, how about you tell us your thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't have many thoughts on this. I mean, it is crazy that, you know, people have been waiting for this game for 10 years or something like that. And, you know, now we got a solid date for it, and they couldn't even make that solid date. Like, now they're delaying it even further. So I hope it's for a good reason. I hope they're actually adding some more polish to the game, and I hope that there won't be any day one updates and patches and stuff like that. So I hope it's just a smooth, seamless experience. But like you guys said, people should keep their expectations in check, in order, because this was a game that was developed for the PS3 originally. There is another game that, you know, went through a similar kind of cycle, because Final Fantasy 15 was originally supposed to be versus 13, and, you know, that game has been actually in limbo for around the same amount of time as The Last Guardian. Kind of, The Last Guardian was probably a bit longer, but Final Fantasy has been in development a long time also. But the difference is that they actually picked the project back up and kind of redeveloped it. Whereas The Last Guardian is it looks pretty much the same game. It's just that they're just basically optimizing it for PS4 so that it can work with the PS4 instead of the PS3. But yeah, I mean, for the people who were looking forward to finally playing The Last Guardian, this definitely sucks. But at least it's not like delayed to 2017 or something like that. You know, at least it's not in the same state as Gran Turismo, where now we don't even have a window of release for that game. Like, it's just 2017, you know. So at least it's not that bad, I guess.
Well, yeah. I do agree. It is a good thing. It wasn't delayed till 2017. There's a couple other games though that are coming in 2017. So, but we'll have to see how it pans out. Obviously, I have already said in the past that I don't really care too much about this game. I'm not really into these type of games, but I do have respect for it. Know that how important it is to certain people. So, I mean, I do hope they get their game soon, because, you know, there really ain't gonna be much else for them to play in December. You know, we know that South Park also got delayed. You know, so people will be waiting for this type of a game, and it will be a perfect time for them to actually play it in December if there's not really much else they have to worry about. So, Max, are you able to speak now? Let's give this a try.
Having some technical difficulties, I think.
Yeah, you may have to come back. You know what that is, Max? Is because you spoke negatively about Recore, so that the devs, they have hijacked your recording.
Armature ninjas are in effect.
yeah, that's what happened.
Well, then again, they should be doing that to him. They should really be doing that to me. They would be mad if you think about it.
Well, yeah, this is true. This is true. I know you got some comments about that review, so it's all right. But
I agree with Gary. I will say though, I agree with Gary. Like, there's a lot of parallels to be drawn between The Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15. A lot of this stuff, and I think it's more like this delay, even though it's not that big of a deal, it's by a month and change. It's more the audacity of it and, like, you know, the timing of it after everything that's happened at this point. It feels like, again, they have a locked release date, and then all of a sudden, you know, something happens for them where they can't can't get it out on time. But it's just more that people just feel a little bit salty, a little bit upset about it now.
all right, Max. So, care to tell us your thoughts?
Okay, so this is working now. What I was going to say is, I've said it before and I've said it again. Games this year have just been getting delayed over and over and over again, and it's something that I guess we should just come to expect from development nowadays. It's a shame, but that's just the way it is nowadays. And like both Gary and JJ said, and you, Richard, like the game just doesn't seem that impressive. People are gonna really have to let their hype die down a bit around it. Otherwise, they're gonna be disappointed in it. Games that do this, games that have long development cycles, they've been good or bad. We have like cases like Duke Nukem, and then we have some of the Elder Scrolls games that actually end up being good. And hopefully Final Fantasy 15, that seems to be like it's going to be one of the good ones. But I don't know. I think that The Last Guardian is just going to go down as another one of those bad games that had a long development time and didn't really live up to much, which is a shame, but that just seems to be the case.
Yeah, I do agree. It's very unfortunate, and I believe that JJ made the comment of Sony having the audacity. Well, my thing is this: they announced the PlayStation 4 Pro. We'll talk about that later, but I just want to say they announced that system, a couple weeks ago, and they made that the focal point of everything. Where in fact, I didn't really hear much of a focus on the actual games. In particular, the games that are coming out this year. I'm not talking about the stuff coming out in 2017 and beyond. We know that Spider-Man and all these other games, they'll be out eventually. They're obviously not coming out this year, so I thought they should have focused more on the titles coming out this year, namely Last Guardian, since that is an exclusive title. But they focused on the hardware, but yet they keep delaying all these games. So the greatness awaits stuff that they always talk about is spot on, because we still waiting for some great experience.
Oh, that's cold.
No. I mean, listen, Uncharted 4 was fantastic, but even Gary has said many times on this show, it's like, except for Uncharted and Bloodborne, the rest of the games are like, it was just okay. So I really think that will change when we start getting Spider-Man. I know a lot of people don't like. I know some of you guys don't like zombie games, but I'm looking forward to Days Gone, and of course God of War. So I think that there's a lot more to look forward to next year. There was another game that is coming out in 2017, which we'll get into in the next topic. That's Neo. So a lot of these games are games that I'm waiting to play, but I have to wait until 2017. So I have to say, yeah, the greatness is still waiting. But when it comes, I have high expectations.
How many of those games that are supposed to be coming in 2017 are going to be delayed to the next year?
Well, I'll say this: I don't believe that Neo is not going to get delayed. I mean, they never really gave a date for this game. I believe there was a rumor it was supposed to come out in October, and then they decided February. I'm fine with that. I had a talk with shout out to Wesley. I had a conversation with him last night, and he tells me that he thinks the Horizon could be one of the games that gets delayed. I really don't think that's. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, because this is a game that you've already told people it's coming out February. We went to E3. They had the massive spread of when you saw the artwork and stuff like that. I don't think that game it can't not afford to get delayed further out. But you never know. Did anybody else want to make a quick comment?
I guess I was just going to say that this fall is mostly going to be a multi-platform season. It's kind of a shame, because you guys were saying the greatness awaits thing, but on Xbox, it's kind of the same situation. We have Gears coming, and we have Forza, which Forza is guaranteed to be good. Gears is probably going to be good. But after that, we just really have multi-platforms all for the rest of the year. So hopefully, yeah, Horizon does not get delayed, because the PS4 can use some of those exclusives. And that game looks awesome.
Yeah, Horizon's in February, but really, like what you said, it's more third-party stuff that people are really excited about, or that have their attention now for this holiday season. Again, Final Fantasy 15, now Last Guardian, Call of Duty, a whole bunch of stuff. Like, again, it's all really third-party stuff this holiday season.
Yeah, exactly. And I know last season you had Microsoft. They had their little deal with Tomb Raider. They decided
the best year ever, or whatever.
Yeah, that was absolutely a horrible deal for Microsoft, in my opinion. But they decided to release that game right head to head with Fallout, and that was just a complete disaster. So I think that's why they said, well, we're not going to bother with a November release. They do have Dead Rising coming out in December.
Oh, I forgot about Dead Rising.
Yeah, and that's a game that will also be on Windows 10. So, I mean, maybe that. I mean, the particular theme of that game, maybe that game will get some attention since it is a holiday type of game. Yeah, like you guys already said, mainly third party stuff, especially third party stuff for Sony this year. I know we could talk about Gravity Rush 2. That is coming for Sony. And Last Guardian. But outside of those two games, I can't really think of another game that is coming. You know, PlayStation VR, another focus, but that's hardware. A lot of people will need to have a PlayStation VR headset to take advantage of the games that it offers. So again, more hardware. You know, the PlayStation Slim is out now, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the PlayStation VR. You know, all this hardware that they're going to be pushing out, which is fine, but I have to ask the question, where are the games? 2017, okay, we'll wait and see what happens in 2017. So we'll see. But any final thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
I'm good.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about Tokyo Game Show, because that was the major event that happened this week. I do have some thoughts on that I would like to say, in particular about the Sony conference. But how many of you guys have seen Tokyo Game Show? And please do let me know what you thought of the event.
I thought it was good. I mean, there was the PlayStation keynote speech, or the presentation of the conference was pretty cool. Showed some interesting details, new looks at games, new trailers, which is awesome, and also Hideo Kojima coming out and talking about his new game, Death Stranding. He talked a little bit about. He didn't really give a lot of details, but he did give us a little bit of clarity of what type of game it's going to be like, and what we could actually expect. But I don't think that game's coming out anytime soon, and I would hope so at this point.
Yeah, well, perhaps that game will be a 2018 PS5 launch game.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. He said it's very early in development, so it's going to take a while. But he did say it's open world, right? It's supposed to be an open world game.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiplayer as well.
That may even take longer than a few years if that's the case. But I don't know. We have to see about that.
I think it's going to take a couple years at the very least, because he has to build an engine for it and everything. So I think it's going to take some time.
And he likes to take his time with his games, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, the developers should take their time. You don't really need to rush a game out. It all depends on who the developer is. I know we just mentioned about some games getting delayed, so
Yeah. The hype is going to be real.
Oh yeah, the hype. I think the hype will always be real. Not just because Kojima is involved, but this is also going to be a game that is supposed to be on PC, but for the most part, it is being shown as a PlayStation exclusive. So I think a lot of PlayStation fans, especially, will be very much hyped up for this game and looking forward to what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
But Max, did you get to check out Tokyo's Game Show? You had any thoughts on the event?
I was able to read up on it. To be honest, there's not a whole lot I was super interested in. I'd say the biggest thing I'm interested in is Neo, the kind of Dark Souls clone, because I'm a huge Dark Souls fan, and any other games that I can play related to Dark Souls, they have my attention. But other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot. I checked out some of the trailers like Last Guardian and such, and Metal Gear Survive, whatever that's going to be, the zombies and all that. But I don't know, pretty much just Neo. Not a whole lot, but oh well.
Well, we are going to talk about Metal Gear Survive a little bit later on, but I agree with you also 100%. The only game I was looking forward to hearing about was Neo, and a solid release date as to when the game is coming out. So now that I know it's coming out in February, man, there's a lot of games coming out in February.
Yeah.
Man, it's kind of ridiculous. But I look forward to that. Still several months away from now, but that's really the only announcement that I heard of any importance. I did attempt to watch the PlayStation stream after, on the PlayStation Japan YouTube. And I noticed that as soon as I started watching the stream, I started out, was dubbed in English, started out fine, this is great. But then when you start getting into some of the presentations, it's like the timing was off. You would hear audio from a game that was revealed or a new trailer of a game, and I'm looking at the video footage, and they hadn't even gotten to that footage yet. So I don't know what was going on with that particular the way they set that up. I don't know if I was the only one, and perhaps I was delusional in seeing this, but if I was behind that whole process, I don't think I would have released that video as is, because everything is significantly off. I mean, you would hear about a game and then you hear excitement. You're like, what the hell are they talking about? And then you finally see it. But after you've already heard what the audio is. So I would like to hope that, maybe that issue can get corrected if it's not corrected. I don't know if they ever corrected it, because once I saw that, I just decided to stop watching altogether. But I wasn't too impressed with what I did see from this show. I know they talked about PlayStation VR, which I found interesting, because I thought they were going to be talking about that at, that PlayStation Experience event. But they chose to talk about it at TGS, because I didn't know that many people are actually going to pick up that device in Japan. I thought that was going to be something that mainly a lot of people here in the States were going to want, but that was interesting. But outside of that, not really anything mind-blowing from this particular show. How about you, Gary? Did you see anything that caught your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the conference live, but it was early in the morning over here, so I was kind of like, it was in the background while I was getting ready for work and stuff like that. So I did, my attention wasn't 100% on the conference, but I saw some most of what I saw I wasn't too interested in, but I did see that Grand Blue Fantasy, which that's it's like an RPG game, and it's made by a lot of former Final Fantasy staffers, like developers and stuff. So that kind of sparked my interest a little bit. So I might keep my eye on that just to see how that turns out. But besides that, nothing major caught my eye. And I probably missed a lot of things anyway, because I was focusing on other things at the time, and I didn't really read on TGS too much after that. So yeah, not too much of interest for me. And the Kojima thing, I mean, he pretty much did what he did at E3. He confirmed that the game is in development and that it's coming, and he mentioned a few vague details, like it's going to have online and it's open world and yada yada yada, but there's not too much to really make from that information. Like, we need to see gameplay at the end of the day, and it's probably going to take him months before he gets to that point where he can show anything. So
well, wait a second, because you said it was similar to what he mentioned at E3, I have to ask this question. Did he have the spectacular WWE entrance where he came to the stage, or was it just like, oh yeah, whatever?
It wasn't like at E3.
Yeah,
it wasn't like at E3.
It wasn't as monumental as E3, because obviously, like, that was the moment where he came back, kind of thing. Like, that was his return. Like, this was like The Rock coming back or something.
Like, he even left.
So.
Let's be real. Like, he even left. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves here.
Yeah, but on this one, it was just they announced him, and I was kind of surprised that he was there, but it wasn't that big a deal at this point. So
I got you. All right, well, it's all good. I guess that pretty much covers the TGS. Again, there wasn't really too much that I saw. You would think that there's going to be some new announcements and stuff like that. I really didn't see anything. I'm pretty sure Sony will have a lot of things planned for the PlayStation Experience later this year. I think that's the bigger show. But hey, if you got a chance, if any of the people listening to this show or watching this show live, if you had a chance to check out TGS, feel free to let us know what you thought about the show, if there are any games that you're looking forward to after watching the show. So we're going to move on to the next topic. All right, this is a topic that I'm pretty sure Gary he absolutely loves, because these are his fellow people. Hello Games, No Man's Sky, based out of UK, right? So yeah. Let's talk about what Yoshida had to say about them. Obviously, he recently had a comment that was released a couple of days ago. And he said that he understands that there were a lot of criticisms that Sean Murray was getting for the way he delivered the messaging on No Man's Sky, but he also said that that wasn't a wise decision for him to promise stuff that he couldn't deliver on. So I'll just say this right now. I do agree with what he said. I wasn't as surprised that he would say that because, I mean, this is a business. I mean, you need to, that the majority of the fans that did pick up this game, they were disappointed. And being that he is in a position of power, I don't think you're going to say something to try to disagree with the fans completely. I think he wanted to give a sense that he understands where they're coming from, and he thinks, yes, it was a disappointment. But I saw a lot of people made a big deal out of this to say, well, that they were shocked and surprised that he would say that. No, I think, he did his point of sticking by Sean Murray, but to a certain extent. And then you have to be honest and say, yeah, he probably shouldn't have said that type of stuff. But I wanted to get what you guys thought about this. How about you go first, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Yoshida saying all that, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Like, even Sony knows that, this game was really messed up, and they didn't deliver on what they said they was going to deliver. And, Hello Games is independent, so there's only so much Sony can do in the PR process to help them. I mean, obviously, Sony did do a lot of PR and marketing for the game too, because, they were releasing it exclusively, console-wise exclusively on the PS4 and stuff. So they helped them out a little bit, but when it comes to the actual game itself and, having knowledge of the game and the development process of the game, Sony wasn't really vocal in that side of things because, it's still an indie game, and Hello Games and Sean Murray have to be accountable for, what's said about the game pretty much. So he definitely, I mean, I don't know if it's because he doesn't have much experience doing PR or if he didn't understand what was going on in the development process. Like, I don't know what the miscommunication was there, but he definitely should have been more careful about the things he promised. And, if he was struggling with these public interviews and stuff and, people asking him questions that, he can answer, he should have sought help, I think, like, just to get help, like on what he should say, what he shouldn't say, how he should address certain questions. If he doesn't have a solid answer, there are ways you can basically dance around the topic. There's a lot of other PR people that do a great job of that. So yeah, he should have just basically asked for help at that point. And to me, it seems like he wasn't majorly involved in the actual development process, because when you look at a lot of those videos and the interviews and stuff, he doesn't seem sure of himself. Like, when they're asking him a question and, he's just like, yeah, it's going to be in there. Yeah, it's going to be in there. Like, he doesn't even know. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think he just needed some help PR wise, really. And I definitely agree with what Yoshida said in that case.
To be honest with you, I think there's a little bit of blame on both sides. I understand Yoshida, opening up a little bit about talking about the reception of it, what went down and stuff. That's his job. That's pretty much what anybody's job is when they're in that type of position with any company like that. Again, especially such a high-profile game as No Man's Sky. Granted, it was done by an indie studio, not like a big AAA studio that's proven themselves over the years. It still was kind of given a lot of that attention, and you have to kind of blame Sony for that because they did get stage time at their E3 presentation. They did have a lot of hype surrounded in the marketing of this game, and I get it. A lot of people are still kind of pissed at Sean Murray, and they have every right to be honest with you. He blatantly, like Gary said, he came out on interviews. I think he was on the Late Show, I think, at one point, and he was talking about how there's multiplayer in the game, there's all these other things in there and stuff. And in those types of instances, I think you need to have the PR guy kind of rein you in. I think that, there's a certain level of personal responsibility, but there's also a certain level of PR needing to do their job. They do it all the time where if someone even gets a little bit close to a hint of something they're not supposed to say, the PR person will kind of jump them. You see this in interviews all the time. You even see it on people when you hear stories at conventions or events, different industry events where they'll do stuff like that. The thing is, with No Man's Sky, I don't think it's as simple as one person is to blame on this. I think there's blame to go on everybody. in some instance. Again, you have to blame the fans for kind of getting caught up in the hype and kind of expecting it to be the next coming of Jesus in the gaming industry. You have to blame Sean Murray for making the statements that he did, even though they were blatantly, clearly not the case by the time of the final release. And you also have to blame PlayStation for the way that they treated the game and the way that they kind of, capitalized on the emotion and the hype that everybody was experiencing at the time. Everybody remembers when we saw that first trailer at E3 for No Man's Sky, and everybody got really excited, and everybody kept talking about it, and it kept fueling that hype machine and stuff. So again, I think everybody's to blame a little bit. So I don't blame Yoshida talking a little bit, but don't get it twisted. He's not the company itself. PlayStation is not something to kind of pacify the blame on.
Yeah, I do also kind of feel like, at the same time, like, I agree with Yoshida, but I feel like Sony should be trying to support and help Hello Games a bit more and not say things like this publicly. Like,
yeah, I agree. You're right.
Yeah, because Sony could have helped with the damage control a lot more, but it seems like they're kind of making it worse. I mean, the whole refund thing, which they offered, and then, now they're publicly saying that they did a bad job of PR. It's like, it's not very nice considering these guys put out the game exclusively on their console and not, Xbox One. So, hey, there's two sides to it, I guess.
Do you guys think it's going to be coming to Xbox One at any point? Do you think it's going to be one of those games?
I think it will now.
It's funny because I don't remember if it was Sean Murray or somebody else that kind of hinted at that and talked about it very briefly. And again, the PR person jumped him. And that was one of those things. Is like, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, so far up to this point, it's been treated like a PlayStation exclusive, which it is to some extent. But maybe, I don't know. The weird thing is that Hello Games and Sean Murray have been quiet ever since. They've been really quiet. And I think that's, part of it is a good idea, part of it is a bad idea, because what's the harm in coming out and just being honest with your fan base or the consumers that bought your game and being open with them about what you're doing? Because the more that you stay silent, the more that people get worried and the more that people question stuff, which can be good in some instances. I don't think this is one of those instances. You got to tell people or be honest. Like, listen, this is what we're doing. This is why we couldn't have these features in the game at this point. This is what happened during the development process and why some of the stuff that we were promising that we were talking about isn't there now for you when you purchase the game. But here's what we're doing now to actually make it happen. That's what I feel like Hello Games should have been doing for a while now at this point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. They need to be telling, because if they're sitting there working on content right now, they should be telling us what they hope that they're going to have accomplished soon. Like, they could just be sitting on their asses for all we know. I know that a few small patches have come out since then, but that's it. We don't know anything else.
The other thing too is, let's not forget also that there was a lot of mystique behind this game, in the way that Sean Murray and crew talked about it towards right before the game was released. And I remember listening to an interview and a discussion from one of the guys over at GameSpot. I forgot. I think it was Daniel Dwyer was talking about it, where he interviewed Sean Murray way early on before No Man's Sky was officially revealed, or right in those early stages and stuff. And one of the things he said was that the company, and Sean Murray included, always wanted to have this mystique around the game where people were kind of didn't know exactly what it was. There was a lot of vague answers and a lot of vague points made whenever the game was talked about. And I felt like that worked against them. And they kind of doubled down and tripled down on that, leading all the way up to the final release and stuff. And it came back to bite them in the ass. Because if you notice, right before it released, Sean Murray and crew came back and kept saying yo, don't temper your expectations too high. Do this and stuff. It's on Twitter now, and I'm pretty sure people have archived it at some point. But you'll notice stuff like that. So I think that, again, in the wake of all this, there should be a little bit much more kind of a little bit of courtesy towards the people that were all in on them. All in for them in their game and stuff. Just tell them exactly what you're doing. Just tell them, be like, here's what happened. This is what we're doing right now. This is why we've been silent for so long. I don't think it's going to do anything bad for their perception at this point. I feel like the damage has already been done, and they could kind of only go up from here. But I think it's a little bit of fear. I think it's a little bit of trying to tread over thin ice. Pretty bad, at least that's the expression, because it's too much cautiousness. And I think that either somebody over there or maybe Sean Murray's don't say anything at this point. And I think it's working against them. And I don't think that's great, because so many people were so hyped up about that game for so long. It feels like, they're being a little bit kind of shafted in this regard. Because if they were part of that hype train of everything for so long, and then now a lot of that stuff that they wanted or that they expected wasn't around at this point. I mean, what are you going to really tell them? Like, how does that really, how's that really fair to everybody that was really down for your game for so long?
Yeah, I think that's the point of good PR. It's to find a balance, because that mystique definitely worked at the beginning, right when the game was announced and everything. But yeah, as the last few months before it came out, they just weren't saying anything, and that actually turned me off of it. I was hyped for that game until probably, I would say, April or March of this year, when they were just being really weird about it. And I have to say, actually, I think that EA is doing a great job with Mass Effect Andromeda in that regard. Like, they're not saying much about it. They're being pretty quiet about it, but they're slowly showing stuff off. And so far, it looks like they're going on a good trail with that one, because they announced it a while ago, kind of like No Man's Sky was announced. And then I think they thought, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that yet. But I think they're handling that well. And I think if No Man's Sky had handled it or went that route, things would have been a bit better if they slowly revealed things.
I kind of agree a little bit. I think the one that did the best though was Bethesda with Doom. I think that because for a while Doom was believed to be in like a really tumultuous development and like was really in like bad shape. And then, towards the end, right before release and stuff, then when they opened up about it and showed the game, it was really good at that point. And they knew they had something great on their hands. So to me, that's like a better example of like, that mystique working into your favor.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that. What do you guys think about that Fallout 4 announcement though? I think that was
same thing. Yeah. Same exact thing. Bethesda. Same exact idea.
Yep.
Yeah, that was great. Like the fact that they announced it and then it came out like months later, pretty much. Like, that same year.
That was the absence of the PR cycle or the preview cycle. That was a prime example of like what can work and how a game, not only like if there's problems or if there's stuff that you have to work on and such, you could have, that time away from the spotlight to work on it and iron those things out right before final release. Granted, Fallout 4 wasn't perfect, and that is the nature of Fallout games and stuff, but you don't always have to have that preview cycle for like a year leading up to that final release and still have a fantastic release at that point.
Granted, they had the benefit of people expecting this game for this long too. Like, we knew it was coming, but that's just the added luck of having a big.
And it's a proven studio too. That was the other thing too.
Yeah,
No Man's Sky's developers, Hello Games, was not a proven studio, and its software Bethesda is in that regard.
Well, you might upset a lot of Joe Danger fans with that comment.
Yeah. I just was about to make a comment about that. I'll address that in a second. I just want to say I do agree with a lot of what you guys had to say about the fact that they've remained quiet, because I believe it's been a little bit over a month since we've seen Sean Murray send out a tweet. I don't really know what's going on over there. I will say, I do believe they want to be cautious in what they say now because of so much disappointment behind the title. And it's probably a situation where you would think as a PR person that, we spoke about this game highly, but now you want to be very cautious about what we say, because then we may just get a whole bunch of questions about this. You figure you may answer one question and then somebody comes back at it with another one, and now they probably are not prepared to answer all those questions. That's why they said, well, we're not going to address anything quite yet. But they still need to communicate for those that made the investment in the title. I feel it only makes sense to talk about a few things, what your plans are. I know they are supposedly working on an update now. I have no idea when that's coming out because they haven't mentioned anything. So we'll see how they handle that situation. But getting back to the Joe Danger comment that Gary made, I do think that I'm not. Now let me just say this: I'm not in any way defending Hello Games at all. They definitely should not have said such big aspirations if they didn't think they were going to reach that goal. But I will say this: I know that this is a studio that made Joe Danger. So when I heard them announce this game, I'm like, there's no way this game is going to be as massive as they think, because it's only a team of a handful of people. I think now it's a lot more than a handful. Maybe it's about between 10 and 13 people working there now. Maybe a little bit more.
It's not a lot overall.
Yeah, but it's not a lot overall. Therefore, I kind of think it is their fault for making people believe this is going to have all this stuff. But it's also, I would think, for those that know this is the studio that made Joe Danger, you got to say, come on now, son. they're not going to have all of this stuff in the game because it's only a small group of people. It's not like a Bethesda. It's not like any of the other companies because, again, like you said, they're not fully really established. They are established as an indie developer, yes.
They don't have a proven track record. That was my point. It's not like Bethesda has Fallout 1, 2, and 3. They got Doom. I mean, no matter how you feel about it, they have all these other big budgeted AAA games under their repertoire like that. Again, this whole games just had Joe Danger like that. And now they're moving on to a big title that's being treated like a AAA. So again, the proof was in the pudding, like what Gary was saying. That was just agreeing with him.
No, you absolutely, all of you are absolutely correct. But that I will say this: that whole thing about it being treated as a AAA title. This is why I say people need to have their expectations in check for Last Guardian, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that are thinking, "Oh, this game is going to be fantastic, amazing," and these delays should let you know. Well, I don't know that coupled with the fact that the previews that came back and said it really wasn't all that great. I mean, and I just want to make it clear, I'm not bashing Sony. I have all systems. I'm a fan of video games, not particular platforms. So I just want to make that clear, though. But yes, people should have the expectations in check. But not just Last Guardian, pretty much all these games, because you don't really know if they're going to be great. You know, Horizon looks fantastic. Does that mean the game is going to be amazing? We don't know that yet because we've only can go based off of the footage that we've seen. You know, a lot of that stuff could end up becoming repetitive as far as what you're doing in the actual game. But we don't know anything yet until we actually get to play and see the game for ourselves. But
well, I just only you know.
Well, how is that?
Because you've been playing it.
Oh no! I'm not talking about Forza. I'm talking about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay, yeah. I thought you said Forza. My bad.
Oh no! But yeah, all I'm saying is that, you know, it really comes down to, I do believe they made a mistake by not communicating. I would like to hope that they're going to get better about that because they owe it to the people who do still have the game. They do still want to know more about what's coming to the game. So I will hope that they get the situation figured out and they do open up the lines of communication again, because it wouldn't make sense not to. And I think that Sony doing the refunds thing, yeah, I do agree. Sony probably should have been a little bit more protected, try to protect them a little bit better. But this is a business. You know, at the end of the day, that game has been on stage several times at different shows, whether it was E3, Gamescom, whatever. So I think Sony feels like, yeah, our job was to get the game out in front of the people. Now it's you guys' job to deliver a great experience. If you don't deliver the great experience, well, you're on your own. I mean, that's what it feels like. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I don't think there. I think it's all a business move. I mean, so I don't have any problems with what Yoshida said. He was honest in the way that he did things. And Microsoft, I would expect them to be honest as well. You know, if ReCore comes out and ends up being disappointing, I mean, it's mixed reviews now. Some people love it, others think it's horrible. I would hope they you know, I want to see how they respond if the people start asking them questions about that. But that's another topic for another day. But yeah, you guys have any final thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next one?
No,
I guess I just want to say it's also important to realize the positive aspects or the positive events that have happened in regards to very small development teams and promising things. Like, do you guys know the game Stardew Valley? Anyone?
I've seen it. I know we have an editorial on the site about this game.
Yeah. It's like a Harvest Moon style game, and I just wanted to say that game was in development for 4 years, and it was all made by one guy. And he was able to do the PR and everything, and people love the guy. He was able to come out with 6 updates in one day when the game came out, like 6 bug updates and everything. And I just wanted to say, like, yeah, Hello Games, they did a pretty bad job with PR and like talking about their game, and in the end didn't deliver a good product. But I think it's important to note that there are small teams and even teams of one that can do that, and hopefully there always will be. Because we've been talking very negatively about a lot of these small groups and everything.
I agree with that, and I think that part of the problem is that the guys at No Man's Games, I mean, yeah. No. Let me rephrase that. The guys at Hello Games. I think the problem is that all of them are specifically working on the development of the game. Producer, design. So they're not. I don't think they really see themselves as PR people, but they definitely need someone that has that responsibility. Specifically,
yeah, then they could have hired someone.
Yeah, they definitely could have hired somebody. I'm pretty sure if they told Sony we need to hire somebody, maybe Sony would have assisted them in some capacity. But yeah, they should have definitely had someone. But I think that with that situation, the majority of those people are focused on creating the game. They're not really thinking about what you do after the game is out there, and that's a problem. I know when I reached out to Hello Games, just to give people a little bit of an insight of our job, I actually reached out to Hello Games to request a review code of the game, and the response I got back was, "We are currently working on No Man's Sky. We will contact you back at a later time." Never got contacted back at all. So yeah, I think they do need some assistance with PR. But that was what happened when I contacted them directly. So
Dang.
It's interesting. But
yeah, I wouldn't like this whole thing to reflect badly upon indie gaming itself, because there are like a lot of great indie titles out there still. So I hope that this whole No Man's Sky thing doesn't reflect on all of indie gaming, because it's not a great representation of all indie gaming.
yeah, I do know that they took a lot of criticism for the game, but I really think that they can still win back some the approval of others. It all depends how they handle themselves moving forward, and if they start to get more transparent about the messaging and updates, then they should be fine. But they definitely have to communicate, because people have spent their hard-earned money on this game. They want to know what the hell the latest update is. So they got to talk about that more efficiently. And I would say that some of these other games, these other major titles that also require consistent updates, like The Division and Destiny, some of those developers were communicating that stuff is going on, but they still, they also had periods where they took a little bit of a while before they responded to upcoming changes. But they've gotten better about that also. So I would like to hope that the indie developers can do the same. So we'll see. But yeah, final thoughts.
I'm good.
We're good. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. We've already spoke about Kojima earlier. We already spoke about Tokyo Game Show as well. Well, one of the games that was at Tokyo Game Show was Metal Gear Survive. This is a game that Gary says, he cannot wait until it comes out, because he will be among one of the first. Yeah, he'll be one of the first people that picks it up at the store.
No way.
Gary, perhaps you know some information on what Kojima had to say, because he had a comment about this particular game. So feel free to give us some more insight on what he said about Metal Gear Survive.
Okay, so I'm gonna read out everything he said, just because I know a lot of people want to hear this. So during I think it was an interview, but he basically said, hold on, I'm trying to get the context. Official, okay, yeah. So he said, "I'm not involved at all, and I don't know anything about it. Personally speaking, Metal Gear Solid is espionage to me, political fiction. I don't think zombies would appear in such a world. I never heard anything about that from that's somebody else talking there. But yeah, that's pretty much the meat of what Kojima said right there. So he's basically saying that because he is the mastermind of Metal Gear Solid, clearly, and he says that in his world, zombies would not exist. So that's the OG creator of this Metal Gear universe. So he's basically shitting on this whole Metal Gear Survive, saying that no, this isn't supposed to exist. Zombies are not supposed to be in this world. And Konami, what they're doing now is against anything that he would do, pretty much. So yeah, I mean, I side with Kojima wholeheartedly in this whole fiasco, because I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan myself, and I refuse to play any Metal Gear or Metal Gear Solid game that doesn't have Kojima's sign off. Like Metal Gear Rising, he didn't, actually develop that game himself, but he co-signed it, and that was enough for me to play it, like, because I knew that he signed off on everything that was in that game. And, so I know that it's going to be authentic to the Metal Gear Solid universe. So, yeah, I mean, if it's not got Kojima's sign off, then I just don't care about it. And obviously, Konami are going to use, because they still own the IP, so they're going to use that to their advantage and release any kind of crap that they can under the name. So yeah, that's just the way I feel about it personally.
All right, let me make a quick comment before I let you guys go. Let me just say that I'll just say, just after hearing that quote, just to give you my instant reaction, I'm very happy with how he handled that. Knowing all of the stuff that he's gone through with Konami, he could have been a lot more dirty about it and said, "Oh, this game is trash."
No, he can't, because legal reasons. That's probably why he can't.
Really? Oh, okay. Well, hey. That's fine.
Yeah, he's got to be careful about how he words things, I guess, at this point. But I think if you read between the lines, he's basically saying,
Yeah, he's taking a shot at them, and I don't blame him, because we all know it. This is just Konami trying to just cash in with the Metal Gear Solid name, besides the pachinko stuff. But here's the thing. This is the position that they're in, and people got to understand this and take it with a grain of salt. They're in a lose-lose situation. No matter, even if someone with a better mindset, business-wise and, consumer-wise, gaming-wise, was to take the reins over at Konami and wanted to do something with the Metal Gear Solid IP, or just the Metal Gear name and stuff, it would never really be universally accepted by everybody, because it will always be that thing that doesn't have Hideo Kojima attached to it. It's always going to be a thing that Konami's just trying to cash in on the name. It's always going to be a thing where they're trying to do something else along with that IP that isn't going to be a true entry into the series in the eyes of fans. It's a lose-lose situation, and it's totally understandable. I think it's terrible to implement zombies into it. Don't get me wrong. I think that Hideo Kojima is right just as much as everybody else is right, that it's completely unlike the series. Like I said before when we talked about this, when Metal Gear Survive was first announced, why not just go back and try to reboot some of the older games and restart Metal Gear as a whole like that? I understand that, why they're trying to do something completely different, because that's what fans want. They don't want Kojima's legacy, quote unquote, tarnished in that regard. But again, it's a no-win situation. It's the Kobayashi Maru of gaming right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. I want to hear what Max thinks, because, like, to me, I'm thinking, like, if somebody was interested in Metal Gear Survive, like, hearing Kojima say that, would you still be interested in playing the game, in buying the game after that, after the original creator said that, this isn't correct? You there, Max?
Max!
Technical difficulties.
More technical difficulties.
Well,
while he's doing that, I'll just throw in there that what is it? If I was anybody else that didn't know any better about Metal Gear, if I didn't have any connection to any of this stuff. Oh, there he is. There he is.
There we go. Sorry about that. I was gonna say, yeah, that completely turned me off of it. I wasn't that turned on by it in the first place. It just didn't look that appealing to me. I saw the reveal trailers, and then Kojima coming out and saying that. Like JJ said, I think legally he wasn't about to say more. I think that if he could say whatever he wanted, he would completely trash it.
He would
like,
blast them straight up.
He'd be like, this is terrible.
But legally,
I don't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah, he's like, I don't know what the hell they're doing. And that right there makes me not want to play it. I'll see it. Maybe if it reviews like exceptionally well, I'll try it out if I'm done with the series by then. But I'm not. No. Big no from me.
I just want to make a comment. I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in all three of you guys, because you have to understand, Metal Gear must survive. This is why the game is titled that way, because they want everyone to feel sorry. Yes, this franchise has to survive, so we have to support it. Nah,
that was cringy, Rich. I'm just saying, that was cringe right there.
Yeah. Well, listen. With in all seriousness, I think you guys hit it on the head. To say that, yeah, after he said that, nobody really wants that game. There are probably still some people who comment on the site regularly, the ones that defended the game and said, oh, it's not bad. Well, they may pick it up and that's good for them. But when you have that, obviously, I would not have expected Kojima to really sign off on the game, no matter even if the relationship with Konami ended on amicable terms. I think that the game, yes, it delineates from what you would expect from a Metal Gear Solid experience. So based off of that right alone, it's not really a game that a lot of people are not going to want. But it is what it is. Does anybody have any other thoughts they want to say about this particular topic?
I think like it's clearly a cash grab, because if Konami was smart, they would focus on doing remasters for Metal Gear games, because I know there's a lot of people who would buy Metal Gear Solid 4 in this generation, because like people aren't going back to the PS3 to play Metal Gear Solid 4, so they should remaster that. And they already had remasters of Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, so they could bring those to.
Well, I actually have a response. Max, you go first though.
I was just saying I'm playing through those now, the remasters.
Yeah,
okay.
They should bring those to PS4 as well. But yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So I was going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right. Perhaps they will consider the remasters, but first they had to do this whole thing where they have to re-release Phantom Pain as a collection with Ground Zeroes. I mean, that pretty much is what they got coming. Now that'll be
keep
out.
This in mind.
Wait,
though.
Is that what they're doing? Are they doing that?
No. Keep this in mind, because here's the thing about that collection with the definitive edition, I think it is, or the complete edition of Metal Gear Solid 5. There's a couple of different things with that. Number one, some of the extra content from the previous collector's edition of MGS5 that had the extra concept art and the stuff about that final chapter and stuff, that's not being included on this collection, number one. Okay, they're getting Ground Zeroes and stuff, but technically it's still incomplete compared to the previous edition. The other point that I want to bring up, and Gary hit on an interesting idea. If Konami was smart, they would focus on remasters, but go beyond Metal Gear, because you could still remaster and re-release on different platforms the Castlevania series, the Contra series, and a lot of its other IPs that people would still buy again. And they could still sustain themselves and make money off of that, here and there. Like putting all the Castlevania games, all the Castlevania games that were on PlayStation platforms, all the Castlevania games that were on Nintendo platforms on their respective online stores, the eShop, the PSN, Xbox Live Arcade and stuff, they would make a killing like that. But I don't know. Again, we say all this stuff, but Konami clearly has a different type of mindset than us right now.
I also want to add, I would like to see them go in the other direction, which is where the hell is Rising 2 at? Because even though some people have criticized, some people on this very podcast have criticized the game, Gary Swaby, I think that the game still, I thought it was fine. I want them to continue more with that type of stuff, because I figured they made that as a spinoff for a reason, so it's something they can go back to again later. But I guess they decided, no, we're not going to pursue that, at least not for the moment. But they really should consider that, because people would pick that up. They like the character, so they probably would invest in that.
Yeah, just to bounce off of that. I mean, yeah, I did have my criticisms about the game, but I did still enjoy it. I do think it was a good game. I liked the mechanics and stuff. And I actually really agree with you. They could do a Rising 2, because for that they could outsource development to Platinum Studios or somebody else to make that title for them. So they could easily do that. And because what I'm thinking is they don't want to put too much of a budget down at the moment. I think that's why they're making these really weird moves, because they don't want to put a lot of money into like the actual development of a project. So with Metal Gear Survive, they're clearly reusing a lot of the assets that Kojima left behind to make this game. So the development probably doesn't cost as much, because it's just reusing what's already there. But for a remaster, they probably would have to put a bit of a budget behind those remasters, especially for Metal Gear Solid 4, because that was built for a completely different architecture. So there's probably a lot of work to do there to remaster that game. So maybe that's why they're doing Metal Gear Solid Survive, because it's just an easy way. It's an easy and cheap way for them to make some money. So cash grab, basically. Yeah.
Hey, that's what it is. Cash grab. Well, we'll see. Any final thoughts that you guys have on this particular topic?
I just hope that Death Stranding just has like a big FU from Kojima, like an Easter egg in there or something. Just like a small little thing in there thrown against Konami or something.
That's very possible.
Yeah.
He definitely gonna have something in there.
It's gonna be that passive aggressiveness in there somehow. There will be. That'll be hilarious.
Totally will be.
He'll have something. He'll have something in there to reference all of this stuff.
Yeah.
All I want is for Kojima to hire David Hayter as a voice actor again.
Yes.
Well, hey, maybe he can play the antagonist in that particular game versus Norman Reedus.
Yeah, that'll be next E3's big surprise, I guess.
Hey, cool. Well, it could be. But you just have to, as we've already said on this show, this game is not coming out for a long time. I know you guys said a couple of years. Hey, listen, man, I don't know about that. It may be 2018, maybe 2019. Who knows? But it is in development. That's all that matters. Yeah. So the final topic of today's show. This is a topic that was brought forth to us by Gary. So, Gary, I'm definitely going to have you reference and discuss this topic further, and then we all will give our opinions on what you have to say about it. But apparently, Sony has made claims that PlayStation 4 Pro upscaled 4K is not misleading. So, Gary, please elaborate further on this topic so we have a better understanding of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so basically, Andrew House was approached in an interview, and they asked him how many of these 4K games on PlayStation 4 Pro would be upscaled. And Andrew House actually said, it would be like the majority of the games that he's, seen produced for the system and stuff are going to be upscale 4K. So not, native 4K, it's just upscaling the resolution and such. And then, the interviewer went on to ask further, so do you think it's misleading that you guys are saying, are promising 4K gaming when a lot of it is just upscaled? And Andrew House basically said, no, it's not misleading because we're actually delivering these games in 4K. It's just not native. And I guess from his perspective, a lot of that is down to the developers if they want to try an attempt to deliver, native 4K on the system, knowing full well that the system probably isn't even capable of it anyway. It wouldn't be stable if they did do that. But, I guess from his perspective, it's just, okay, if the developers are talented enough to deliver native 4K, then the option is there for them to do it. But we're delivering upscaled 4K for you, and we can call it 4K because it is 4K. It supports your 4K TV. So, from his perspective, I understand, like business-wise, yeah, I mean, to be able to say 4K gaming, a lot of consumers might not even understand what upscale is, and they'll just think, okay, yeah, it plays 4K, so I'm going to buy this system. So business-wise, makes sense that he would say that answer, but do you guys feel like it's misleading? And do you guys feel like it's disrespectful to consumers, and stuff like that? Like, what do you guys think?
I would have to say it is a little bit misleading, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because looking back, even when the Xbox One and the PS4 were announced when they were new, a lot of even 1080p games are upscaled 1080p or not true native 1080p, and that's not really been a big issue for anyone. I think it's an issue for the really big tech heads who just want their like perfect 4K resolution and all that. But at that point, I'd imagine they're playing on PC already and not going with consoles in the first place. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think people are just kind of being a bit nitpicky. But
I agree. Yeah, I think it's the same thing. Just the people that I guess they're trying to reach out to aren't really the people that are so nitpicky about these little things like that. And again, they're probably already playing on PC or they already have a PC that could do true native 4K gaming at some point. But for me, I think that, PS4 Pro And some of the problems that are around there that Sony has to deal with have nothing really to do with this. It has more of detailing, okay, what does this console really do for people that already own a PS4? Or what is it else is going to do besides some of the stuff that they mentioned or they try to like detail and explain to the person that doesn't really understand it. I think that's more of the issue rather than if a game is like true 4K or not at this point. But for someone like me, this isn't really that much of a big deal. It might be somewhat misleading, but again, not a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on with the messaging. You know, if he also made mention of the fact that it is up to the developers. I mean, that's the most important thing that you can say. I mean, again, we've had this conversation before about the use of 4K and how it's a buzzword and how a lot of people, you know, they hear 4K instantly where they will think, well, yeah, this is awesome, something I want to jump on. But, you know, it does require a sizable investment. You know, those who need to get 4K TVs with HDR support as well, they may see that as something they need to invest in to truly see that the games are in 4K. But, I mean, anyone that does their research knows that it's going to be kind of difficult for any console to run 4K gaming. PC is a different story, obviously, for many reasons. But I just think, yeah, the way that he said the messaging, I don't think it's. I mean, I don't think it's too misleading. But there are some that would think it is. I mean, it all depends on. My thing is that you should do your research anyway to know whether or not this is truly a 4K thing. There are enough resources out there that will show you and explain if something is not 4K on the internet. So I don't really think that anybody should worry too much about this particular thing, but I do find it interesting how, you know, some of these sites, this is another conversation I had last night with Wesley. Some of these sites, they ask particular questions to try to get a rise out of, you know, see how people will respond to get a rise out of them. And then a lot of that is used as ammunition from those that don't like Sony to talk trash about Sony. Honestly, I don't think Sony or Microsoft are going to really be able to deliver true 4K gaming because, again, as I've already said, the difference between running a game on consoles and PC is too great. So, but I don't see a big deal with this, but I just think it's, you know, Microsoft is just the same. You know, I don't think the system is going to run 4K games either, but, you know, just my thought. You was going to say something, Gary?
No, I really agree with you when you said people should do their research. Like, if you're the type of person who cares about this stuff, like cares about the, you know, the detail or the picture quality and the graphics and all that stuff, if you really care about that stuff, you should be doing your research to understand, you know, what's being presented to you so that you won't be disappointing yourself at the end of the day. Because I mean, Andrew House, he technically didn't lie, and I actually respect him for actually saying that it's, you know, it's not native 4K. So I can respect that. But, you know, if you're the consumer that actually cares about that, then you should already, you know, you should make sure you know these things so that you're not setting yourself up, you know, at the end of the day. But ultimately, I mean, for the consumer who just wants to play games on a console and stuff, it shouldn't make a major difference, to be honest. Like, you know, if you got your 4K TV, cool, you're going to be able to play upscaled, you know, 4K games. Obviously, there are problems sometimes, like when you're upscaling things, because sometimes some of the detail is stretched out and, you know, blurred, and it might not look as good as you think it will because obviously it's not native. But, you know, for a lot of consumers, that's fine because they don't know any better. So, you know, for them, that's completely fine. And like JJ and Max both said, the people who do care about this most likely own gaming PCs anyway. So, hey, I guess like everyone should be happy in this scenario. Like me personally, definitely not buying PS4 Pro, not interested in the console at all. But it, you know, it serves its purpose for the people who want it. So.
I just want to make a quick comment about PS4 Pro because there was some other news that I did hear about recently. I know the CD Projekt Red has already come out and said that they will not be doing any updates for Witcher 3. And I think that at this point, Sony, they really need to clarify and say the messaging that it is up to the developers, because I believe that there are some people that are going to expect that there's going to be a constant every game is going to now have that capability. So I really think they have to continue to reiterate that message, because we do know that a lot of the first party games will receive updates, but the third party games, it's not really a guarantee. That is all based on whatever the developers decide. And I know that when CD Projekt Red made that statement, a lot of people was, they were kind of thrown off with that. They did not respond too well to that. They thought, well, I mean, but Sony really has to do a great job of making it very clear this is not a forced feature. It's if they want to take advantage of it, the developers can. They have to make that clear to the consumer, because a lot of people who don't do their research, they're going to think, well, every game I get on PlayStation 4 Pro is going to run 4K anyway. But if the developers are not going to support it, then that's a totally different situation, and you need to make it clear to the consumer before they actually invest in the hardware. So
yeah, some people are just spoiled and want everything, like, because with The Witcher 3, that game already looks so beautiful. Like, it's already, like, it's so amazing, that game. And like the people who are complaining because they're not enhancing it for 4K or whatever, like, just keep quiet, because like you don't need everything. Like, you don't need every single game that's already existed to be upscaled. Like, what's the point? The game looks good enough already. Just, be happy.
Well, hey, I do agree with that, but let me ask you a question. It's a question that you all can answer. But isn't what you just said about people being selfish, isn't that one of the main issues with gaming today? People have high expectations for everything. It needs to be fantastic. It got to be 1080p, 60 frames per second. It has to be 4K. And that's trickling right down to the actual video games also, where there are going to be some people that will say, well, The Last Guardian, that better blow my mind in every way imaginable. Thinking to myself, I mean, I don't know. I know we've had a discussion in the past about the previous generation being better than this current generation, and I still have to say that is 100% accurate, because you think about a lot of the games that came out of that generation. You had Mass Effect, you had BioShock. Mass Effect especially is a massive game now, and everybody's looking forward to Andromeda. But I do feel as though what we already said on this show about people keeping their expectations in check, you think that needs to apply to everything this generation? Because I feel as though people, they really just need to enjoy what they have. And then you can be surprised when you get a major thing. Like, there could be a game that comes out of the woodworks no one knows about. It ends up blowing up and being a massive success. But I just feel like everybody has these expectations. Oh, it has to be perfect. It has to be 4K. It has to have all this other stuff. So I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on that, because when I saw that those Witcher 3 responses, I was like, I mean, it's not really a big deal to me, but just curious what you guys think.
People need to go back to just appreciating gameplay, and because the thing is with graphics, like, it's hard to find a game that has bad graphics nowadays. Like, they all usually look really good. Like, some look better than others, of course. Some perform better than others, but for the most part, the graphics in all these games, like, we're spoiled, to be honest with you right now, because a lot of these games look great when you compare to how games looked in the PS1 and PS2 era and stuff like that. Like, these games look fantastic now, and it's hard to find a bad looking game. So people should be more concerned with gameplay and fun rather than graphics. Like, because I mean, and it goes back to what people say about frame rate versus resolution. Like, the frame rate is definitely more important when it comes to gameplay, because that affects gameplay directly. Resolution, whether it's 4K, 1080, like, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as the game is performing well, you're having fun, and the gameplay is great, then that should be the standard. That should be the basis of your happiness. Because I mean, at the moment on my PC, I'm using a 770. Eventually, I want to upgrade to 1080, but I'm not in a rush, because everything looks fantastic anyway. I know that it's going to look significantly better when I get the 1080, but who cares? Like, I'm still satisfied with the games that I'm playing now, like, and how they look now, because they look fantastic. So yeah, people just need to stop focusing on graphics so much.
I agree 100%. And actually, I'm really sad because I know that with the Scorpio and the PS4 Pro and everything coming out, the same comparisons that are going to be brought up at the beginning of this generation are going to be brought back. Like everyone comparing, oh, does the game run 1080p, 60 frames or 30 frames instead of actually focusing on the game? If we all remember that for every game coming out when these new consoles came out, just that's what everyone was talking about. And it's just going to be annoying because it's going to happen again.
Well, I kind of refer back to something I think I've talked about on the co-op before, like in one of our more recent episodes and stuff. Something I saw from Colin Moriarty on one of his streams over at Kind of Funny. He said that gameplay is God. You know, that's something that should be changing here, and we shouldn't be so concerned about the power of a system, the visual fidelity of the games themselves. We should be more focused on if they're fun to play or not, because that's what really has games stand the testament of time. I mean, you go to anybody now these days and ask them about Super Mario Brothers, and they'll still be talking about it up to this point, or at least there's still people talking about that. Same thing with Tetris. You know, those are games that are masterpieces, that are 10 out of 10 gameplay, that are 10 out of 10 experience games because their gameplay is so on point and so phenomenal. Even games that are part of last generation that might have had phenomenal looking graphics and amazing visuals and character models, environments and stuff, some of them have been forgotten because they just weren't that fun to play, or they were just kind of mediocre by some of our standards, even back then to some extent. So that's hopefully, if not this generation, maybe the next generation at some point, we think about things differently and how we could actually play games or improving the quality of how games play. A lot of people have been saying, including Colin Moriarty, that VR is one of those first steps because it's a different way to play games. You know, that could be either here or there, depending on your opinions about VR, but it is on the right track of like, how do we think about playing games differently? How do we make games play more fun or in interesting ways?
That's one thing Nintendo is still king of. Gameplay over everything.
No, I mean, some people say that, and I could agree with that to some extent, but I think it goes with, you know, hills and valleys for all three of the big three companies that make games or make platforms and stuff. I think that, you know, over the last couple console generations, Nintendo has been like one of those companies that has tried to do so, you know, thinking about, okay, going from the GameCube to the Wii with the motion control gaming, as also the same thing going to the Wii U, you know, to some extent with the gamepad and also the motion controls here and there with that. But also you could still say the same thing about Sony and PlayStation, you know, with the PlayStation Move, even though it was kind of piggybagging a little bit with the Wii's success and stuff. But I think for all the major companies out there, and even all the major third-party developers that put their games on multiple platforms, I still think that everybody still gets caught up on the power argument or gets caught up on the power race like that. It's more of an arms race about who could have the most powerful console, the most visually pleasing games, rather than the games that play the best.
I just like to make a quick comment also. First and foremost, I want to say I actually saw the same stream you're talking about. That was the main reason why I wanted to get into this discussion, because I agree 100% with what he said. It really should be about the games. It should not be about, you know, well, it performs better on this console, even though, you know, the performance is important.
It's supposed to be about gameplay, really, is what he's saying.
Yeah. The gameplay and the games. And you know, I made a comment earlier in the show. Some may find it controversial. How I said that, you know, we're still waiting for some of these PlayStation 4 exclusives. We know they are in development. They're coming. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I really think that that should be the focal point now. I mean, I don't necessarily think the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Scorpio need to exist. You know, and as someone who purchased the PlayStation 4 on day one, for the most part, I enjoy the system. But if you was to ask me, based off of the exclusives that they have, do I think that the purchase was worth it? I would tell you, yeah, but I still think they have a lot more that they can do, a lot more that they can offer. Now, when I think about the Xbox One, I personally think that Phil Spencer, ever since he stepped into the role, Xbox has had a lot of improvement. They are trying to do other games like Recore, even though Recore has had mixed thoughts, etc. But, you know, to me, they've delivered a lot more games that I have enjoyed so far in terms of the exclusives so far this generation. Now, I already know Sony has a lot of great stuff coming. Does that mean that I'm just going to say, oh, I'm not going to support Sony? Oh, no, like I said already, I support gaming in general, and I will play everything because I have everything aside from PC. So I just think that, yeah, all of these companies should be focused on games now. I think you focus on hardware and you want people to purchase the hardware because you think it'll be a better system, all this other stuff, but you really need to be worried about the gaming. The games are what will sell people on the device. Same thing with PlayStation VR. You know, I've seen only a few of the VR games. I can't say that I am completely sold on VR because I don't really see a game yet that is going to be like, oh yeah, I need to get this device. I really did like the Call of Duty Assault game that I played a couple of weeks ago. I think that would definitely make me interested in VR, but I still need to see other games that would actually make me get the device itself because it's a $400 investment. And again, just like with the Vita, let's go back to the Vita. There were a lot of games that I was expecting to be on that Vita. I don't really think it got the first party support that it needed to get. But needless to say, it's getting some support now. But it all depends if you like those type of games. I don't really like too many JRPGs, so I have given up on that device completely. But with that said, the software I think is very important to this discussion because if you don't have software to push the console sales, then it's what's the point of even having the console in the first place? So I would like to hope that Sony, Microsoft, even Nintendo with the NX, that they really focus on making great games and great gameplay experiences from here on out. But, you know, they do have an opportunity to do so. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt to see whether or not they pull it off. But they really should focus on that more so than just the hardware and being how, oh, it's 4K and all this other stuff. I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about some great gameplay experiences in games in general. So, any final thoughts?
I'm pretty good.
I pretty much said everything I
Same.
had to say, and I agree with a lot of what you guys said. So, yeah.
Awesome. So, for those that are listening, or you will watch the video, definitely let us know what your thoughts are on the topic in the comment section below. I do believe that concludes this week's show. So, final shout outs. How about you go first, Max? You'd like to give any shout outs, special thanks? Feel free.
Once again, as always, thanks again for having me on the show, guys. Love being a part of it. And then shout outs. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm on Twitter now as well. I'm a nerd. And same with my blog that I just set up recently just to practice writing and everything. It's whileI'manerd.net. And if you want to add me on Xbox, it's Maximol, MAXEMOLE. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I like that name. That's interesting.
Surprisingly, it wasn't taken. Believe it or not.
That's good. That's good. All right. How about you, Mr. Lugo? Any final words? Any shout outs?
Just shout out to everybody in the chat. I popped in there for a little bit and I saw a bunch of people in there. Thank you guys for your time, your comments in the chat. It's always good to see people checking out the live show, interacting with us, just leaving your thoughts and opinions of what we're talking about. It's always good to get that interaction, that communication with all of you. Shout out to everybody leaving comments on all of our editorials, our reviews, our podcasts that we post up on the Koalition website. I saw some comments on my Recore review as well as a couple other spots and other reviews that have been going up. Thank you. It means a lot to see that. Shout out to the patrons. Again, your patronage, your time, your support for all of us really means a lot for us to see. We're always trying to make some really cool stuff for you. We're going to be having other cool Patreon exclusive content going up at some point, so definitely look forward to that. You guys are definitely getting your money's worth and what we're trying to offer to all of you, and kind of give all to you guys that are supporting us on Patreon. And again, shout out to everybody out there that just follows all of our content, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on the Koalition website, whether it's our streams on Twitch. I know Gary goes into my Twitch streams every once in a while and he sees a bunch of people in there acting a fool, having fun and stuff, but it's always good to see all that for all of our stuff and whatnot. So thank you. We hope to keep doing some awesome stuff for all of you guys.
Absolutely. How about you, Gary? Any final shout outs?
Yeah, shouts to everyone who joined us in the chat today. And I want to shout out the whole Throwdown team as well, because they had a great show. I listened to it recently, and they'll have Throw Down Your Questions as well tonight, so look out for that. And of course, I want to shout out our Patreon supporters as well. So shouts to Marcus Collins, Sean Gority, Michael Hatcher, Stephen Ferron, and Mauricio Aguilar. So shouts to you guys for showing your support. And remember, guys, we are doing a giveaway for October, and you can actually vote which game you want to see given away in October on the website right now, because we have a poll on the site, and the choices are between Battlefield 1, Mafia 3, Gears of War 4, and Titanfall 2. So definitely leave your votes, and the game with the most amount of votes will be the game that we give away in October. And of course, our Patreon subscribers, supporters and stuff, they get extra entries into our giveaways for their support. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. And shouts to everyone listening, and leave your comments. I look forward to the comments always. That's it from me.
Sounds good. I also would like to thank the Patreon supporters for their continued support, as well as everybody else that continues to visit the website and check out these podcasts. Just to piggyback off of what Gary said about the contest, I know that there was a few people that was asking and demanding certain games be put on the games that we are giving away. The thing about that is that, it all really depends on, we try to keep it to 4 games. It all really depends on what those games are. Now, World of Final Fantasy, I'm pretty sure that game does have an audience to some extent, anybody that's a Final Fantasy fan.
I saw it at E3.
You saw it at E3. Yeah, see, you enjoyed the game, right?
I thought it was cool. I mean, we didn't get hands-on time with it, but we just saw trailers, and we saw other little gameplay here and there. And there's been trailers that have been coming out since then, but the game looks cool.
Yeah.
It's on Vita and PS4.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Seth brought up a comment why that was not included as one of the games. And to my response to that comment is that, obviously we will do better about including other games or future giveaways, but I think that when you have all the other games that were mentioned on that list, I think it's a foregone conclusion that game was not going to have a chance of actually winning the most votes. Battlefield 1, Gears of War 4, and Mafia 3. Those are 3 high-profile games coming out next month. Plus Titanfall too, but Titanfall is, it has a bit of a bad, some people are not really sold on it right now. But those 3 games are highly a big deal, so I think it obviously was going to make sense that even if you have a World of Final Fantasy on the list, even if you had the Tomb Raider on the list, do you honestly think that that's going to outdo any of the others? I don't think so, because those other games, they have mass market appeal and a ton of attention. But obviously, it all depends on you guys to vote, and you tell us which ones you want to see. So, like I said, we'll do better about including a lot more choices the next time around. But again, the opportunity is there for those of you that want to vote. And as an added bonus, again, to piggyback off of what Gary said, anybody that is a Patreon supporter, you actually, if you are a Patreon supporter and you win the giveaway, you're not getting the regular edition of the game. You'll be getting a premium edition. So if the game has a season pass that comes with it, I know Mafia has a season pass, I know Battlefield has a season pass, you'll get the whole complete experience, because that is a special incentive to people who are on the Patreon. We wanted to emphasize that again to let you know how important the Patreon is, because we want to give those people additional value since they are also donating to keep the site going. So wanted to put that out there in case there's anybody that does want to consider that at some point in time. We are going to be doing more giveaways in the future. Give a shout out again to M. Collins for winning a Final Fantasy 15. He will be getting that in November. Like I said, we have a lot more exciting things planned, a couple more giveaways planned down the road. So stay tuned for your opportunity and the chance to win. And that pretty much is it for this week. Plenty of reviews coming to the site this upcoming week, plenty of content, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all again for your continued support. Take care, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Peace out.